Papadopoulos conducts high-level meetings in Greece. Papadopoulos used a trip to Greece to burn his credentials on the campaign, but he also took the opportunity to repeat Mifsud's information about Clinton's emails. Papadopoulos informed the campaign that he was traveling to Greece. On May 18, 2016, Papadopoulos sent an email message to Lewandowski, relaying that he had been, quote, invited to meet with a Greek foreign minister later this week in Athens, he is an old acquaintance of mine, close quote, and asked Lewandowski if there was, quote, any message you want me to send Greece from the campaign, they are hoping Mr. Trump wins and are planning to extend an invite to Mr. Trump when I see the foreign minister, close quote. The committee has no record of a Lewandowski response. The next day, May 19, 2016, Papadopoulos sent a similar message to Clovis, once again asking, quote, is there any message from the campaign you would like for me to send Greece? I was told they are going to extend an invitation to Mr. Trump when I see the foreign minister, close quote. Clovis responded, quote, no, just keep your counsel and report back, close quote. Papadopoulos then wrote Paul Manafort, then the Trump campaign's convention coordinator, on May 21, 2016, stating that he was in Athens, Greece to meet with the Greek foreign minister and the defense minister, and that the Greek government would be sending, quote, an official invitation for Mr. Trump to visit Greece sometime should his schedule allow, close quote. Papadopoulos also stated that, quote, regarding the below message, Russia has been eager to meet Mr. Trump for quite some time and have been reaching out to me to discuss. I thought it would be prudent to send to you. I am free to discuss if you are free, close quote. The message included the May 4, 2016 email from Timofeyev to Papadopoulos. Manafort sought to quell Papadopoulos' efforts. He forwarded the May 21, 2016 message to Rick Gates the same day and added, quote, let's discuss. We need someone to communicate that DT is not doing these trips. It should be someone low-level in the campaign so as to not send any signal, close quote. Gates responded to Manafort on May 21, 2016, and suggested having the campaign's correspondence coordinator handle the communication, noting, quote, this is the person responding to all mail of non-importance. It would be a general letter, close quote. The committee is not aware of any further actions by Manafort or Gates on this issue. For more on Paul Manafort, see Infra Volume 5, Section 3A. 3 days later, on May 24, 2016, Papadopoulos wrote Timofeyev and asked if the Trump campaign had communicated with him. When Timofeyev stated that he had not received any communication, Papadopoulos began to coordinate a phone call with him. Between May 29, 2016 and June 2, 2016, 6 email messages were exchanged between the two individuals, though the committee cannot confirm if the two spoke. Papadopoulos told the FBI that during his May 2016 trip to Athens, he told Greek Foreign Minister Nikos Kotzias what Mifsud had told him on April 26, 2016, regarding the Russians having emails related to Secretary Clinton. Papadopoulos recalled Kotzias' reaction. Quote, Kotzias told him in Greek, quote, don't tell this to anyone, close quote, as if Kotzias had already known that information. Papadopoulos assessed Kotzias' response was too swift, and Kotzias was not shocked when Papadopoulos told him that information. Papadopoulos never discussed that topic with the Greeks again. When asked why Papadopoulos told Kotzias about the Russians having Clinton's emails, Papadopoulos said he had a nervous reaction and blurted the information out to Kotzias, close quote. As noted previously, the committee has no reliable indication that Papadopoulos shared this same information with anyone on the campaign. Furthermore, the committee has no additional information as to why Papadopoulos would share the information with the Greek foreign minister. Papadopoulos was in Greece from at least May 17, 2016 through May 27, 2016, according to press reporting analyzing Papadopoulos' social media accounts. During his visit, Papadopoulos met with Kotzias and with the Greek Minister of Defense, Panagiotis Panos Kamenos. Vladimir Putin traveled to Greece on May 27, 2016. Komnenos greeted Putin upon his arrival in Athens on what appears to be the same day Komnenos met with Papadopoulos. Balance of page redacted. On May 29, 2016, Papadopoulos wrote to Clovis that Komnenos was, quote, willing to make a private trip to New York to meet Mr. Trump, or in Athens, close quote, and that Kotsias, quotes, wants to invite Mr. Trump to Athens for an official trip, close quote. On May 31, 2016, Papadopoulos sent an email to Hicks with the subject, quote, messages from Athens for Mr. Trump, close quote, in which he wrote, quote, wanted to send you some messages I received from Ministers President of Greece. I just met with the Greek president. They are all very excited for Mr. Trump. Hope he wins, and if he passes through Athens any time, all doors here are open for him, close quote. Months later, on the evening prior to the inauguration, Komnenos was photographed with Papadopoulos at the St. Regis Hotel in Washington, D.C. Separately, Komnenos was also photographed with Reince Priebus at the St. Regis Hotel on January 19, 2017, and with both Bannon and Priebus at the Hay Adams Hotel on January 21, 2017. On June 7, 2016, Papadopoulos wrote to Hope Hicks offering to brief Trump on his recent travel and interactions with Israeli, Egyptian, Greek, and Cypriot officials. Hicks suggested Papadopoulos engage with Miller, who suggested that he and Papadopoulos speak by telephone the following weekend, June 10 through 12, 2016. On June 10, 2016, Papadopoulos wrote to Miller, quote, tried calling, couldn't get through, I'll be free for the next hour, or I'll try tomorrow, same time, close quote. The committee does not know whether Miller and Papadopoulos ultimately spoke by telephone. Papadopoulos plans a campaign staff visit to Moscow. In June, Papadopoulos reinitiated his push for campaign interactions with Moscow, reaching out to senior campaign officials and to Mifsud and his contacts. Papadopoulos started this renewed effort by resuming the April 27, 2016, email conversation between himself and Lewandowski, in which Papadopoulos suggested the campaign follow the Mayflower speech with a meeting between Trump and Putin. On June 1, 2016, Papadopoulos wrote to Lewandowski, quote, do you want to have a call about this topic with Russia, or is it off the table for the time being? Wasn't sure if we were following up with it, close quote. Responding that day, Lewandowski wrote, quote, can you connect with Sam Clovis? He is running point, close quote. Papadopoulos subsequently wrote Clovis an email on June 1st with the subject line, quote, messages from Russia, close quote, in which he stated, quote, I have the Russian MFA asking me if Mr. Trump is interested in visiting Russia at some point. Wanted to pass this info along to you for you to decide what's best to do with it and what message I should send, or to ignore, close quote. When Clovis was specifically asked about Papadopoulos' June 1, 2016 email during an interview with the committee and Papadopoulos' outreach related to outreach to Russia in this time period, Clovis could not recall Papadopoulos reaching out to him about the Russia topic. He further suggested Lewandowski told Papadopoulos that he, Clovis, was running point because, quote, Corey Lewandowski didn't want to deal with anybody. So anybody that he didn't want to deal with, I dealt with, close quote. When asked about Papadopoulos' efforts to arrange a meeting between Trump and Putin, Clovis told the committee that he told Papadopoulos, quote, it was a bad idea. I think it's a really bad idea, George, close quote. The committee did not identify any written communications in which Clovis expressed this view to Papadopoulos. Shortly thereafter, Papadopoulos turned back to his conversations with the Russians, reiterating his own interest in a visit in a series of emails. He wrote to Timofeyev on June 11, 2016, Dear Ivan, I am free to come visit Russia if there is interest, close quote. Timofeyev replied back to Papadopoulos the following day, stating, quote, just landed from Beijing. Visit to Moscow is an excellent idea. We'll be at Skype on Tuesday, June 14, 2016, close quote. Papadopoulos replied back 2 minutes later, writing, quote, I am going on holiday tomorrow until morning of June 21st, 2016, but will do my best to get online. In the meantime, if you see who is interested in meeting in Moscow, I can begin preparations to come visit Moscow by the end of the month directly from Thessalonica, close quote. 4 minutes later, Papadopoulos sent an additional email to Timofeyev in which he wrote, quote, I am open to meeting everyone, even on the highest level. I think it would be most productive, especially before the debates begin, close quote. Papadopoulos also separately noted, quote, I need to let my boss know who wants to meet with me in Moscow to confirm that's why I ask, close quote. Timofeyev responded, quote, I have got a good reaction from the U.S. desk at the MFA, as I told you. But to get higher level, the best option would be to have a letter from Mr. Trump about your visit, asking for such meetings, close quote. A few days later, Papadopoulos returned to pitching Lewandowski on a trip. On June 19, 2016, Papadopoulos wrote an email message to Lewandowski with the subject line, quote, New message from Russia, close quote, in which he wrote, quote, The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs messaged and said that if Mr. Trump is unable to make it to Russia, if a campaign rep, me or someone else, can make it for meetings, I'm willing to make the trip off the record if it's in the interest of Mr. Trump and the campaign to meet specific people. I'm currently in Greece, so not far. Or if someone else wants to go, just wanted to pass this along so I know who to forward the message to, close quote. Lewandowski wrote back 6 minutes later, quote, I am almost certain that he, Trump, won't be able to make it, close quote. Meanwhile, Carter Page, another member of the foreign policy team encouraging Trump to visit Russia, was about to depart for his own trip to Moscow. According to FBI records, on July 5, 2016, Oleg Lebedev sent Facebook messages to Papadopoulos informing him that Page would be in Moscow and might have unofficial meetings with the Russian MFA. The committee does not know how Lebedev was aware of Page's impending presence or activities in Moscow, or how Papadopoulos responded. Page spent July 4th to 9th, 2016, in Moscow, speaking at the new economic school and engaging in limited government meetings. On July 15, 2016, Papadopoulos sent an email message to Timofeyev proposing a Trump campaign staff trip to London to meet with President Putin's office and the Russian MFA. The FBI discussed this email with Papadopoulos. Quote, Papadopoulos was advised he had sent Timofeyev an email stating, quote, because of the time difference, I will email you what I have in mind. A meeting for August or September in the UK, London, with me and my national chairman, and maybe one other foreign policy advisor, and you, members of President Putin's office and the MFA, to hold a day of consultations and to meet one another. It has been approved from our side. Kindly let me know what else you need and dates that work for everyone, close quote. Papadopoulos confirmed he was referring to Clovis and Fares when he referenced the national chairman and the other foreign policy advisor in his email, close quote. Papadopoulos did not produce the email to Timofeyev to the committee. However, Papadopoulos sent a very similarly worded email to Mifsud on July 14, 2016, suggesting a meeting in, quote, August or September between you, me, Ivan, my two colleagues, members of President Putin's office, and the MFA to meet and greet and hold a day of consultations, close quote. In 2018, Timofeyev spoke with journalists about his interactions with Papadopoulos, stating, quote, we did not close the door to the guy, but we did not take it seriously. He was very enthusiastic. He was very interested in Russia and improving relations, but he seemed to be so unprofessional and so unprepared for a serious conversation, close quote. Timofeyev further stated that Papadopoulos never sent a formal request for a visit to Russia, outlining particulars such as who would attend or what topics would be discussed. Throughout this time frame, Papadopoulos continued frequent contact with Mifsud on a variety of issues, from press inquiries to a potential role for Mifsud on the campaign. Mifsud sent Papadopoulos an email on June 16, 2016, with the subject line, quote, urgent contact, close quote. Mifsud wrote that he would like to, quote, touch base and have a catch-up, close quote, with Papadopoulos, particularly pertaining to answering some queries from Italian newspapers, one of which Mifsud included in the message. Mifsud also wrote, quote, on the 27th, 28th, I am at The Hague for the high-level internal annual meeting of the ECFR, and on the topic is the U.S. presidential elections. I would like to have a briefing from you on Mr. Trump's foreign policy to be able to argue, quote, your, close quote, corner, close quote. Between July 5, 2016 and July 17, 2016, Papadopoulos and Mifsud exchanged over a dozen email messages to coordinate a phone call. The committee does not know whether a conversation ultimately took place. Between July 25, 2016 and July 27, 2016, Papadopoulos and Mifsud exchanged 9 email messages to coordinate a phone call. The committee cannot confirm whether a conversation took place, but surmises one did based on a subsequent July 27, 2016 email. On August 22, 2016, Papadopoulos offered Rick Dearborn, a campaign official, quote, other information, close quote, on Russia and Libya. When Dearborn replied that he would like to see it, Papadopoulos stated he would, quote, talk to some contacts of mine in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Italy and Russia to get you some primary sources and information, close quote. Papadopoulos then sent an email message to Mifsud on the same day, August 22, 2016, in which he asked, quote, Dear Joseph, do you have any updates on Libya you can send my way, close quote. Mifsud sent Papadopoulos a file titled, quote, the current situation and the main priorities for Libya.docx, close quote. The committee does not have any evidence that Papadopoulos sent the document or any derivative information regarding Libya to the campaign. On July 27, 2016, Papadopoulos told Clovis and Walid Faris via email that Mifsud was willing to host, quote, us with the UK officials and other governments for consultations in Europe and Russia. He called Mifsud his, quote, colleague, close quote, and said Mifsud's organization, the London Academy of Diplomacy, works closely with Boris Johnson's office. The committee has no indication that is true. Papadopoulos then wrote to Mifsud, quote, excellent call. We are looking forward to the letter detailing that the London Academy of Diplomacy would like to host the Trump team and officials from the UK and Russia, separately, close paren. Confirmed participants from our side include Walid Faris, Foreign Policy Advisor, Sam Clovis, Head of Policy, and George Papadopoulos, Foreign Policy Advisor, close quote. On July 31, 2016, Mifsud wrote to Papadopoulos again suggesting that Mifsud be given a formal role with the campaign, including organizing meetings on behalf of Trump's campaign, emphasis in original, close paren. Quote, as mentioned, I wish to be officially accredited and invited to follow Mr. Trump's campaign, with an on-the-ground U.S. trail for a period to be defined with the aim of presenting the European, the extended EU, UK, Balkans, etc., close paren, Russian and Mediterranean media, think tanks, institutions, and public opinion, blogs, etc., close paren, with an realistic view of your campaign, with particular reference to foreign policy, and all the other pertinent issues. I would also need to be briefed periodically on all foreign affairs issues pertinent to this role. This would justify my academic and professional interest. Emphasized text. An agreement on this must precede all other actions. Emphasis off. I will organize in London and in other European capitals meetings with individuals, think tanks, media, and foreign policy advisors from countries in Europe, wider Europe, close paren, UK, the Mediterranean, the Balkans, and the Russian Federation, the meeting that we have discussed would be under this umbrella. The focus to these meetings would be the clear and specific foreign policy issues being put forward by Mr. Trump during his campaign. Close quote. Narrator's note. In some of these messages, a parenthesis is indicated as beginning, but there is no closure to that parenthesis. The narration is based on the actual text of the report. The committee has no indication that Papadopoulos passed on Mifsud's request to the campaign, or that Mifsud ever procured greater access to campaign officials. On August 8, 2016, Papadopoulos wrote an email message to Dearborn stating that he, quote, was invited to Russia's largest energy conference of the year to talk about global energy market dynamics. If Mr. Trump believes it's in the U.S. interest to cooperate with Russia, something I wholeheartedly believe as well, I'm happy to represent the campaign's ideas as well, close quote. Dearborn replied the next day, quote, George, I can't authorize you to go on behalf of the campaign, close quote. Mifsud sent an email on August 10, 2016, introducing Papadopoulos to Stephen Rowe, whom Mifsud described as, quote, a Swiss lawyer with offices in Germany, Switzerland, Russia, the Gulf, and China, with whom I have been collaborating for some time on major international projects, including Link Campus that you have visited this year, close quote. It is unclear why Mifsud sought to make this introduction. As part of the 9-message exchange, Rowe wrote to Papadopoulos on August 15, 2016, quote, Joseph reminded me that you might want to speak about a trip to Moscow. It would be my pleasure to give some advice, close quote. The committee does not know if the two ever connected for a conversation on the phone or in person. Papadopoulos wrote an email to Clovis on August 15, 2016, with the subject, quote, trip abroad, you and I, close quote, in which he stated, quote, have had requests from UK, Greek, Italian, and even Russian government for closed-door workshops, consultations abroad. I wanted to know if there is still interest for the 2 or 3 of us to go on that trip. If not, I'll let them know and we can potentially hold a private Skype call. All meetings can potentially be done in London at the London Academy of Diplomacy, close quote. The same day, Clovis responded to Papadopoulos, quote, I just don't see any way for me to travel before the election. I have too much to do that requires me to be in the States. I would encourage you and Walid to make the trips, if it's feasible, close quote. On August 15, 2016, Papadopoulos responded to Mifsud's July 31, 2016 email stating, quote, unfortunately, our national co-chairman, Sam Clovis, informed me today he cannot travel abroad at this stage of the election. However, we'll now see if Walid, Faris, can make it, and he is supposed to tell me today, close quote. Faris engaged with Papadopoulos on the potential travel, noting to Clovis that he would, quote, reach out to George to discuss possibilities for us, close quote, and told Papadopoulos that he was open to engagement at the British Embassy in Washington, D.C., prior to the potential trip. Faris did not mention the potential trip to London with Papadopoulos during his interview with the committee, though he indicated some familiarity with Papadopoulos' other travel to Israel and Greece during the campaign.